All right, let's talk about one of the most famous ideas in all of psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But what if I told you that the version we all know and recognize is basically a myth?
Oh yeah, you know this one. This pyramid is absolutely everywhere. It's in business seminars, psychology textbooks, probably a dozen presentations you've sat through. And it makes sense, right? It's clean, it's simple, it feels right. It's become Maslow's brand.
Well, here's the twist. Maslow, he didn't make it. He never drew it as a pyramid. That iconic shape was actually dreamed up by a management consultant almost 20 years after Maslow first published his work. So to get to the real theory, we have to start over.
To really get Maslow's hierarchy, we first have to understand his ground rules for motivation itself. These are his core beliefs about what makes us all tick, and they're the foundation for everything that comes next.
First, he said motivation is holistic. It's not just your stomach that's hungry. The whole you is motivated. Second, it's complex. You might want a promotion, sure, but is that for the money, the respect, the feeling of competence? It's probably a mix. Third, we are always motivated. The instant one of our needs is met, another one just pops right up. And finally, these basic needs are universal. Culture might change how we satisfy them, but the fundamental drives are the same for everyone.
So with those rules set, let's get to the main event. Maslow identified 5 core needs that have a striving motivational quality. He called them conative needs, and the best way to think about them isn't a pyramid, but more like a ladder you climb.
And here are the 5 rungs on that ladder. The key concept is something called prepotency. It's a fancy word for a simple idea. The needs at the bottom of the ladder have to be at least partially satisfied before the needs higher up can really grab your attention. You're just not worried about your life's purpose when you're starving.
Down at the very bottom, we've got the physiological needs. We're talking food, water, air, the absolute basics of survival. Now, these are unique for 2 reasons. They're the only needs that can ever be completely satisfied, and they're always coming back. You can eat till you're stuffed, but you're just going to be hungry again in a few hours.
And this quote just captures their power perfectly. Maslow himself said, "It is quite true that man lives by bread alone when there is no bread." When you're deprived of these basics, literally nothing else matters. Okay, once our basic survival is more or less handled, we start to be motivated by safety needs. We want some stability, we want protection, we want freedom from chaos and fear. But here's the thing, unlike hunger, you can never really be too safe. You can't ever be 100% protected from everything.
Once we feel reasonably safe, our focus shifts to love and belongingness. We're social animals, right? We need friends, partners, to feel like we're part of a group. And Maslow made a really cool observation here. The people who are most intensely motivated to find love are the ones who've only had a little of it, even more so than people who've had a ton of love or none at all.
After we feel like we belong, we start to crave esteem. This is all about feeling good about ourselves, feeling confident and competent. But, and this is a really critical detail that the pyramid just flattens out, Maslow split this need into 2 very distinct types.
And here's that crucial split. On one side, you have reputation, which is external. It's how other people see you. On the other side, you have self-esteem, which is internal. This is a feeling of worth that's based on your real abilities and achievements. It's what you know about yourself, not just what other people say.
And finally, we reach the top of the ladder, self-actualization. This is the drive to become everything you are capable of becoming, to fulfill your own unique potential. According to Maslow, when people reach this level, they become much more independent of those lower needs. They don't need constant praise to feel worthy.
But hang on, we're not done yet. Those 5 needs aren't the whole story. Maslow also talked about 3 other categories of needs that add a whole new layer of depth to what drives us.
He identified aesthetic needs, our need for beauty and order, and cognitive needs, our natural curiosity, our desire to learn and understand things. These 2 are healthy. But then he also described neurotic needs. These are different. They're unhealthy, unproductive urges that pop up as a compensation when our basic needs aren't met, and they cause problems whether you satisfy them or not. Okay, this is where we really leave that rigid pyramid in the dust. Maslow's actual theory is so much more flexible and human than a simple checklist. The climb up the ladder is not a simple one-way street.
And this is a total game changer. You don't just complete one level and unlock the next like in a video game. Instead, all of our needs are satisfied by degrees, by percentages. That means at any given time we're being motivated by a whole bunch of different needs from different levels all at once.
Maslow actually sketched this out himself.
He said, for an average person, maybe their physiological needs are 85% met, their safety needs 70%, love 50%, esteem 40%, and their self-actualization need is only satisfied by about 10%. It's a mix. But now, compare that to someone who is actively self-actualizing. Look at that shift. The lower-level needs are much more fully satisfied, which allows that self-actualization drive to become way stronger. See? It's a flowing, dynamic balance, not a set of rigid boxes to check off.
And the theory has even more wiggle room. Maslow knew that sometimes the order can get reversed. Think about the classic starving artist who puts their creative work, a self-actualization need, ahead of their safety or even their hunger. And, super important, not everything we do is motivated by a need in the first place. Some of it is just expressive.
This distinction is so cool. Coping behavior is what we've been talking about. It's got a purpose. You're working to get food, you're trying to make friends. But expressive behavior is an end in itself. A genuine smile, the way you walk, your posture. You're not doing those things to get something. They are just an expression of you in that moment.
So the big picture here is that we've swapped out a simple but wrong pyramid for something much more rich and realistic. Maslow's real theory is a fluid, dynamic, overlapping framework that actually respects the beautiful complexity of what makes us human.
So I'll leave you with a final question. Now that you know the real story, not the pyramid, but the ladder, the percentages, the messy reality of it all, take a look at your own life. Which needs are the ones pushing and pulling you today?